There may be now in the paths of sin some wanderer whom I should seek. O Savior, if thou wilt be my guide, though dark and rugged the way, my voice shall echo the message sweet. I'll say what you want me to say. I'll go where you want me to go, dear Lord, over mountain or plain or sea. I'll say what you want me to say, dear Lord. I'll be what you want me to be. There's surely somewhere a lonely place in earth's hardest field so wide, where I may labor through life's short day for Jesus the crucified. So trusting my all to thy tender care, and knowing thou lovest me, I'll do thy will with a heart sincere. I'll be what you want me to be. I'll go where you want me to go, dear Lord, over mountain or plain or sea. I'll say what you want me to say, dear Lord. I'll be what you want me to be.
Brothers and sisters, what a blessing it is to be able to speak to you today. Happy Father's Day to all those fathers, grandfathers, and to future fathers. Please know that Sister Hickson and I miss everyone so very much, and we are really excited about returning to church starting July 12th. Now, going forward, I wanted to make sure everyone knew the schedule. We'll only be having one meeting when we have our meetings, and that will be a sacrament meeting. The first and third Sundays of each month at 10 a.m. will be sacrament meeting for the English-speaking members of the branch. On the second and fourth Sundays of each month, the Spanish group will be meeting at the same time, and that will be their sacrament meeting. On a fifth Sunday, it will be just a Sunday off. We will not be having this meeting, and this will continue until we receive word of what the church wants us to do. But going forward, we'll only be having one meeting. There will be certain protocols for cleaning and stuff that we'll be pushing out, so everybody understands what's going to be expected when we do the sacrament meeting, as it will be somewhat different based on these new COVID social distancing protocols. And we will be letting everyone know about that as well here fairly soon. But first things first, I'm so grateful for blessings not yet known. And what I mean by this is, about a year ago, my oldest son took a job whereby he had to travel a lot. Both he and his wife, they work for a large software company, and they go to hospitals to help integrate this software into that healthcare system. They sometimes are gone for weeks, and helping train hospital personnel on how to use this software and to help create protocols in the healthcare system. When my son took this job, they had a wonderful, cute, and loving dog that they could no longer take care of because both of them would be gone. And as you could surmise, they asked us if we would be willing to care for their dog for a few months until they figured it out. Well, those months have turned into well over a year now, but we've come to love that dog, who is now our dog. Kung Fu is his name. He's a mixed breed, medium dog who loves to go on long walks. So one day while walking Kung Fu, I noticed when I got out about halfway, about a mile and a half into our walk, that I started having what some people might consider to be like a heartburn. I would have called it more of a runner's burn. It's when you exert yourself a lot, you can feel that burning sensation that you get in your chest. But when I finished my walk, it'd go away and no big deal. Particularly, I was still doing some of my honeydews, and one of them, for example, was building an above-ground garden whereby I wheelbarrowed in approximately 100 wheelbarrows of dirt to fill up that above-ground garden, and I never felt anything. So I didn't really think anything of it. As I continued to walk Kung Fu, I started noticing that this heartburn would start earlier and earlier in the walk. So finally one day I relented, and you know how men are, and I relented and said, well, I better talk to the doctor. And so he said I should immediately get a meeting with the cardiologist so that they could rule out any issues that might be with my heart. And so I quickly set up an appointment with a cardiologist, and this was on a Monday. And even though I met with him, and even though my blood cholesterol level was historically low, 130, and I had low LDL levels and high HDL levels, which is also supposed to be good, that he felt, the cardiologist felt that I should still go and have a stress test done. So we set that up for Wednesday morning. So unfortunately, some anomalies showed up on my EKG, and then meeting with the cardiologist, he recommended that we have a heart cath to go in and really see what was going on. And so that was scheduled for Thursday morning. Now again, this started on a Monday. I had my cardiologist meeting on Wednesday, and then I had my heart cath on the Thursday. And remember, this was also all at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. So nobody was really going to the hospital except those people that had potential COVID-19. So it was fairly easy for me to get in and to have a heart cath. Matter of fact, I remember talking to the nurses when I went in, and they said that they hadn't had anybody for days doing a heart cath. So they were excited to see me. Well, when I woke up from the anesthesia, and my cardiologist was there, and he told me I had 3 blockages. He said they would have stented them and they were only about 30% blocked. But he said one of the blockages was in a location that was unstentable. He said it was in a branch of the widowmaker, which is your main artery on your heart. And so really what needed to happen is I needed to have a bypass surgery. Now he said, because it was only about 30%, he said I could wait 2 or 3 years to get it done. But he felt that since I was in relatively good health, still somewhat young, that I should go ahead and consider getting it done now. So I decided to get it done. I never went home. From the hospital, they took me immediately over from the College Station Medical Center to the CHI St. Joseph. They had called the heart surgeon that I wanted to use, and he was available to do the heart surgery the next morning at 7:30 a.m. So At 7:30, they were cracking me open. And during that period of time, you could not have any visitors, no one in. So I said goodbye to my wife on that Thursday morning, and I didn't see her until I got out of the hospital 3 days later after my surgery, as they released me. It's been 2 months, a little over 2 months now since I had that surgery. You know, all my physicians had said they've never seen anybody heal that fast. And as I mentioned, they released me just 3 days after my surgery. Normally, when they keep people at minimally a week, but I've never looked back. And I will always be grateful for the blessings that I've received, those blessings that were not known to me. The blessing of having a dog come into my life that would ultimately help me find out that I had this condition. The blessings and power of prayers and the resulting speed for which I have and continue to heal. And the biggest blessing of all was my wonderful wife, who had been the best nurse and the most loving wife that I could have ever hoped for, and definitely more than I deserve. I'm so grateful to her and to all of you for the many prayers that you've given. I have felt them and continue to feel them every day as I get through this recovery period. Recently, as many of you are aware, Brother Craig Foster was called home. I was asked to conduct his funeral service by Sister Foster, and it was wonderful because I had the opportunity to see many of you at his funeral. What a joy, and it's hard for me to express, but a joy it was to see everyone there and to be able to have the opportunity to speak to people that I hadn't seen in several months. As I was sitting up front waiting for the service to begin, a voice came to my mind and said, "This joy that you felt, imagine it multiplied manyfold for Craig as he is being reunited with the many family members and friends that have gone before him." Brothers and sisters, I know where Craig is and that he is working diligently from beyond the veil to help his many family members and friends and others come into Christ. I know that he will miss his family dearly, but is happily doing those things to prepare a place for them. As I thought about Brother Foster and the significance of having fathers that are committed to doing what the Lord asks us to do, my thoughts turned to the book of Nephi and two particular individuals that I wish to speak to, Lehi and Nephi. In the very first chapter of Nephi states, "Having been born of goodly parents, therefore I was taught somewhat in all the learning of my father." When I think of Lehi, I think of the divine pattern that he had shown to all of us for being a father. As the leader of his family, Lehi first taught by example. He led out in righteousness in the conversion to Christ. He taught by the word, saying, "Believe as I believe." Nephi writes on how his father prayed unto the Lord, yea, even with all his heart. We see that Lehi not only talked the talk, but he walked the walk. He showed his family that he had made the decision long ago to be committed to the Lord, to do his will. When the Lord told him to leave Jerusalem, to take his family and go out in the wilderness because people sought to take away his life, there was no question as to what needed to be done. He left everything save his family, provision, and tents, and departed immediately. Lehi never gave up hope on his wayward sons, Laman and Lemuel, counseling with them often, always hoping that they would turn their hearts to the Lord as Nephi had done. Lehi was such a wonderful example of truly what a father should be. But enough about Lehi. I really want to talk about Nephi. For some time, the Spirit has been pushing me to talk about him and how this relates to us today. First and foremost, I am so grateful to our prophet and the Come Follow Me program. And believe it or not, I am also very grateful for this pandemic. For out of this pandemic, it has created an opportunity for me to really dive into the scriptures in a way I probably would have not done so if it had not been for the pandemic. And the Spirit has taught me so many things that I did not know and understand until now. So let's talk about Nephi and what we can learn from him. As we've been restudying the Book of Mormon this year and doing a deep dive into its passages, the first book of Nephi came at me like a thundering train, like it never had before, and really pushed some profound thoughts to me, especially considering the environment we live in today. After going through First Nephi several times, there were some significant impressions that I had and that I wish to communicate to you today. Number one, commitment. Brothers and sisters, are we truly committed to Jesus Christ? As I have turned to Nephi and his life, it's easy to see that from an early age, he was truly committed to Jesus Christ. Many a time he was challenged with the same issues as his brothers in being displaced from their home, living in a tent for years as they traveled through the wilderness, leaving everything that they had, threats on his life from his brothers, being tied up, pretty much everything you could think of that could sway someone from continuing to believe. But there was never a question as to his commitment. He never wavered. The second is resilient faith. Brothers and sisters, do we have the faith that whatever is put in our way is done so for our good, to grow and to learn, that we may become what our Father in heaven wants us to become? When Nephi broke his steel bow, and they went for quite some time without food, when his brothers, Ishmael's family, Sariah, even Lehi himself, did murmur against the Lord, but Nephi never lost his faith. He went and built a bow and an arrow, and in a show of ultimate respect and faith, went to his dad to ask him to inquire of the Lord through the Liahona as to where he needed to go to hunt. There was never a question as to his faith in the Lord. He knew that he would be shown the way to bring food back to his family. When the Lord told Lehi that his sons needed to go back to Jerusalem to obtain the plates from Laban, Nephi never asked why, but only asked how to accomplish what he'd been asked to. Truly, Nephi had a resilient faith that would never, ever fail him. The third is reading the scriptures. I love the story of the tree of life and how holding fast to the rod of iron, which is the scriptures, the word of God, will take us where we want to be. As Nephi explained in 2 Nephi, for my soul delighteth in the scriptures, and my heart pondereth them, and writeth them for learning, and the profit of my children. Nephi's study and pondering the scriptures opened his understanding of so many of the aspects of the gospel, and it can do exactly the same for us. Nephi wanted to know the mysteries of God. When his father Lehi had told him about the vision of the tree of life, what did Nephi do? He went to the Lord and asked to be shown the same things his father had been shown. His desire was to know all that he could, all that the Lord would reveal to him. He wanted to know, so much so that the Lord showed him in great detail all that was shown to his father, but also allowed him to have a greater understanding of what he was seeing. So much so that when he returned from his vision and encountered Laman and Lemuel asking Lehi the meaning of certain things that Lehi had described in the Tree of Life vision, Nephi was able to provide a detailed understanding of what his father had seen and what it meant in such a way that Laman and Lemuel could now understand what they could not understand before. So why are these three things so important to us today? President Nelson said this: why do we need such resilient faith? Because difficult days are ahead. Rarely in the future will it be easy or popular to be a Latter-day Saint. Each of us will be tested. Not some of us. Each of us will be tested. I know that most of you, if not all of you, have seen what is happening in this country today. This country, founded upon the principles of religious freedom and guided by the hands of our Father in heaven, this country was reserved to bring forth the fullness of the gospel in these the latter days, along with the ordinances and covenants that are so very important. This country was chosen to be the beacon of righteousness for the whole world, to be one nation under God. But look at what is happening today. The divide between good and evil continues to grow wider and wider. We now live in a nation where wrong is said to be right and right is said to be wrong, where the truth is no longer considered to be true, where political correctness defines who you are, where the very Constitution that created this great nation is hanging by a thread. The time is now, brothers and sisters. Now is the time to make that commitment to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, to commit to always follow him, never wavering, with a resilient faith that cannot be turned. Now is the time to get on your knees, to ask our Father in heaven to help you get the resolve to always do the right thing, to have the faith to always follow Christ, to always do what Jesus Christ would do. Because in the coming days, we all will be tested. It is my hope and prayer, brothers and sisters, that you will receive that burning desire in your heart to become a disciple of Jesus Christ, that you will want to have that resilient faith and be committed to always follow Jesus Christ, because you will be tested. In his holy name, even Jesus Christ. Amen.
Shall We will worship